Bitcoin. What's the second best? There is no second best. Everybody. And that's the only strategy. And at the end of the day, you can tell everybody go fuck themselves. You can put it in your head, memorize the freaking key, blah, blah, blah. Oh, yeah, my Bitcoin, I lost it in a boating accident.
All right, wise words again from the sage Michael Saylor. When he talks, nowadays people listen, all right? So maybe you should consider putting in your 100 hours of learning into Bitcoin, as it's slowly becoming a global economic phenomenon, or as some people call it, the future of money, all right? So in this video, I want to basically take you guys through your first 100 hours in Bitcoin, all right? What are the resources you can use, or what order to go through with them in, and what are the best resources to increase your chances of understanding this invention of our age, or this probably the greatest invention of this decade, which I feel is Bitcoin, all right? So let's begin. The first document which anyone should look at once entering the Bitcoin space is obviously the white paper, all right? It's a 9-page PDF which Satoshi released to the world, and thus Bitcoin came to be, all right? So where you can find it now is just on bitcoin.org. You can go down to introduction and they have white paper written there. You click on English original and then you'll get the full Bitcoin white paper, all right? You might not understand it, but I think just as a rite of passage, it's an important thing to just go through, look at it, try and make sense of it, all right? So try reading it, try and get the gist of what it's saying, because it is obviously the seminal document. And once we go through the rest of the 100 hours and you come back, you'll be able to make more sense of what Satoshi has written in this initial white paper, all right? Part 2, or the next step in your journey, which I would recommend, is heading on over to YouTube. And there's this famous channel called 3 Blue 1 Brown, which does like mathematics, CS, physics adjacent videos. But they did a really good video on how Bitcoin actually works, all right? So it was made about 7 years ago, and it's got about 16 million views as of today. And I would highly recommend you watching this video. It's only about half an hour, all right? But it simplifies complex concepts so you can understand truly the mechanics of Bitcoin, from cryptographic hashes to how the blockchain works, and why proof of work is the way, and what is proof of work. So again, part 2 on your journey would be to watch this video, how does Bitcoin actually work, by 3 Blue 1 Brown. I'll link to all of this in the description below the video. And the next step on your journey, or lesson 3 in your journey, is probably going to be the most impactful part of this journey, and it is obviously the seminal book on Bitcoin, which is the Bitcoin Standard, all right? Every Bitcoiner has read this book multiple times, but it's written by Saifedean Ammous, and it's an essential Bitcoin reader, right? It doesn't just talk about Bitcoin, it covers things from monetary history, how the currency system came about. It talks about the evolution of money and why Bitcoin is positioned to be the ultimate store of value in the future, all right? So it's a very broad-ranging book, and it's written perfectly for beginners. So you understand the core concepts of what money is, what a store of value is, what economic energy is, and then it takes you through the history. It takes you to the point of the invention of Bitcoin, slightly into how Bitcoin works, and why Bitcoin could become the future of money, or the ultimate store of value, all right? So definitely dedicate a couple of hours and read this book cover to cover, all right? If there's just one thing in this 100 hours that you do, it's read this book, all right? This is the most important step on your Bitcoin journey. Read Bitcoin Standard, you would have a very good idea, an overall idea of what Bitcoin is, why it could be important in the future, why you should be invested in buying Bitcoin, and then obviously your journey starts into diving deeper, all right? And you need to go to some depth to fully grasp the complexities and the intricacies of Bitcoin and why it's such a beautiful system, all right? So the next 2 parts of your journey, that is part 4 and part 5, these are 2 books on 2 different ends of the spectrum, and I would recommend you to read them both. One is Mastering Bitcoin by Andreas Antonopoulos, all right? So that is this book up here, all right? It's I don't know if you can see it. Yeah, it's more of a technical deep dive, all right? If you're somebody who loves to tinker and with coding and understand how the technicals technicalities of Bitcoin work, this book is your go-to. But I think for anybody who wants a proper understanding of the workings of Bitcoin and the technical underpinnings, you need to read this book. Already, you're not going to understand the sophistication of the system, as in the sophistication of the simplicity of the system, without reading Mastering Bitcoin by Andreas Antonopoulos. Andreas Antonopoulos was basically a CS professor, and he figured out Bitcoin early on, alright, and he became a huge fan, and he was a proponent of Bitcoin in like the early years, 2012, 13, and he was giving lectures to empty halls, telling people to buy Bitcoin. Nobody listened, but now they're listening, alright. And the second book, as I said, part 5, is Broken Money by Lynn Alden, alright. So Broken Money by Lynn Alden. Basically, Broken Money, why our financial system is failing us and how we can make it better, alright, by Lynn Alden. She's a fabulous writer, fabulous technical mind, fabulous economist, and she's taken very seriously in the Bitcoin space nowadays. And this book is just a wonderful, it's an incredible resource for understanding the economic side of Bitcoin. Already she explains how the traditional financial system is flawed and how Bitcoin addresses these issues, right? It's detailed, but yet it's accessible. It makes a fantastic bridge read for beginners to intermediate levels, and you'll appreciate Lynn's clear writing and thorough analysis, alright? So switching it up, now we've got some podcast content for you, and this is a really great series, alright? It's quite a long series, it's about 20 hours to invest in, but what I would recommend is anytime you're on a car, anytime you're traveling, commuting, or you have some free time, and you're just listening to something in the background, I would say definitely go to Robert Breedlove's YouTube channel and check out the What is Money show, and specifically the Saylor series. Alright, this is Michael Saylor of MicroStrategy, the guy you saw in the beginning of the video. He's done an 18-part video podcast with Robert Breedlove, and he basically dives deep into Bitcoin's philosophical, technological, and economic aspects in a way that's like easy to follow, yet it really expands your mind. Alright, so it's a goldmine of information to help you understand Bitcoin's value proposition, and it really changes the way you think. So Michael Saylor studied the history of science and the history of trends at MIT when he was doing his aeronautical engineering. So he really has a mind for understanding how technological themes and changes in technology really transform the world. Part 7 is if you're a real finance geek or you're somebody working in the finance space and you have an interest in capital allocation, risk-related returns, what is the best resources, what is the best mix of resources for your portfolio, right? So Michael Saylor again gave a speech at or a keynote at Cantor Fitzgerald to talk about the future of Bitcoin as an asset, a treasury asset, alright, and why it's better than anything else, alright, and why it's basically a glitch or a cheat code to infinite money and higher returns, right, for any asset manager, right? So that is the Michael Saylor keynote address at Cantor Fitzgerald. He titled it Bitcoin, the Red Wave and the Crypto Renaissance. Alright, it's about an hour, almost an hour. It's on MicroStrategy, his company's official YouTube channel. You can check it out. I'll link to that as well in the description below. Next, we come back to a book, but it's a little different kind of a book, alright? It's called 21 Lessons, What I've Learned from Falling Down the Bitcoin Rabbit Hole, alright? It's by this anonymous guy called Gigi. There's a lot of anonymous people in the Bitcoin space. If you understand, you will understand throughout this journey what anonymity means to a lot of people in this cypherpunk Bitcoin space and why it's so important to many of them. But this is an anonymous author named Gigi. He's written this book 21 Lessons, and it's a very short read. It's a very small book, but it's a very profound read. And it's not technical, it's not economic. It's more of a philosophical and personal anecdote, sharing lessons learned from Gigi's personal interactions with Bitcoin and personal interactions engaging deeply with Bitcoin. Alright, so he's a huge Bitcoin maximalist, and he takes you on a sort of alternate thread and talks about the lessons you can apply to your life from Bitcoin. Alright, so again, another great read. Definitely check out 21 Lessons, and it's not much of a time investment. You'll quickly cover it. Part 9 of your 100-hour journey in Bitcoin. Alright, and this is again a Michael Saylor resource. Alright, and it's called hope.com. Alright, so again, like I was telling you, Michael Saylor figures out trends early on and figures out how they're going to change the world. Alright, so he was around when the internet wave took off, and he understood what an important thing domain names are going to be. Alright, so he just bought up a lot of common English words, very small but powerful English words and bought their domain names very early on. Alright, so one of them is hope.com. He owns a lot of famous domains. You can Google them and check them out. But he bought hope.com a while back. Imagine owning hope.com now, right? It's insane. But what he did was he donated this to the Bitcoin cause, and he's made it a sort of repository of knowledge. Alright, so any resources that he feels add to people's learning of Bitcoin or understanding of Bitcoin, he puts it up here. So it's split into, resources. You've got videos, you've got books, you've got PDFs, you've got papers, you've got interviews. All right, so everything, you can dive deep. It's just hope.com, easy to find. And thank you, Michael Saylor, for doing this. All right, so that is hope.com, part 9 of your journey. And part 10 is sort of a continuous learning or a continuous update for anybody engaging with Bitcoin. All right, and it's Matthew Crater's Bitcoin University channel. All right, so this is Matthew Crater. He basically makes daily videos covering Bitcoin. It can be news, it can be market analysis, it can be fundamentals, it can be how-tos, or it can just be vibe videos, understanding the vibe of the market. But it's a great way to stay updated while also reinforcing your learning and making sure of trend changes in the Bitcoin ecosystem. All right, so spend a few minutes daily watching his content. You'll be surprised how quickly you pick things up about Bitcoin, and your understanding grows. All right, he goes macro, he goes micro, he goes geopolitical, he goes technical, and he's always switching it around. And he understands Bitcoin deeply, and he's a true Bitcoin maximalist. So he's a good person to take information from. There's a lot of shills out there who give you the wrong information and ideas about Bitcoin, but he's not one of them. So definitely subscribe, hit that notification button on his channel, and catch all his daily updates. All right, so there you have it, your roadmap, 10 parts for your first 100 hours of Bitcoin learning. Start with the Bitcoin Whitepaper, watch some of the videos, read the books, and join some communities like Matthew Crater's. And if you put in the effort, you'll be well on your way to mastering Bitcoin and setting yourself up for success in this space. All right, so if you found this guide helpful, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell icon. All right, and please share this with somebody who's curious about Bitcoin. Don't forget to subscribe for more videos of mine on finance, investing, Bitcoin, geopolitical issues, macroeconomics, and things like that. Until next time, stay curious and keep learning.